podcast, and to go in complete contrast on the last podcast, this time a whole lot of shit happened in the past week.
It felt like in this year you can't have more than 2 weeks without news or some crazy going on in the world.
I just feel like the universe really hurt us this time. They were just like, oh, you want news? You want news? I'll give you news.
Let's get right
into the news. I mean, Keemstar is part of it. Aren't him and
that was actually could have been part of last week, but I guess I wasn't sure if. Oh, my bad. I feel like today we got a little bit of lag more than usual because I feel like I keep talking over you or something.
No, I'm just an idiot and I just keep rambling on. I don't think that's lag at all.
Well, keep your ramblings to yourself, all right,
yeah,
Bucko? I'm here to deliver the freaking news, okay?
Silence, simp. That's how you get me. All right, so deliver us with the news on Keemsters.
I guess at this point it feels kind of like old news. Like I was going to say, actually, we could have talked about that last week, but I felt like we don't really care a lot about YouTube drama. So
no, not at all, actually, to be honest.
I mean, basically what came out of it, and it also includes Pokimane in there because she did something similar, is that now a lot of bigger channels are using their platforms to go after other creators that they don't agree with sponsors. And I don't know if it started with Pokimane's thing or Keemstar, but basically H3, he's always kind of had a hit or something out for Keemstar. He just doesn't like him. They don't like each other. But I feel like legit, I'm gonna be real. I think H3 maybe feels like his channel wasn't doing as hot as before, and he just wanted something big, to bring it back. So he just went after Keemstar because, I don't know, I guess that's like easy views. And at the end of the video, he calls out, or not even at the end, just at some point, he mentions the fact that Keemstar always has the G Fuel right there on his desk, and how he doesn't understand how G Fuel can keep sponsoring a person that has done so much fucked up bad stuff in the past. And then I guess he never said to go after it, but people took to Twitter to tweet at G Fuel to remove Keemstar, and so they did. It's not clear because Keemstar says that he told them about it himself and just decided to drop out to prevent them from getting controversy because of him, but I guess we don't know for sure. But the point is, he lost the G Fuel sponsorship because someone else didn't like him.
Oh wow! And then Pokimane.
And the same thing happened with Poki. Yeah,
Pokimane did something similar with some guy who was calling her a thought.
If she breathes, she's a thought.
But yeah, that is what happened. She a thought.
It's actually I feel worse because Keemstar and H3 both have massive fan bases, so they kind of attack each other. And Keemstar went after H3's fans too, and I think H3 also lost a sponsor. I forgot what company it was, but with Pokimane, she went after a channel that was maybe 300k subs.
Yeah, much smaller
and I don't know
than
how
hers.
much she has, but yeah, clearly she has over 2 million, 3 million maybe. And the video itself wasn't even as bad as she made it out to seem. She says, how can someone that is just calling me a thought for 15 minutes get a sponsorship when that was literally maybe one phrase in the video? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the video overall was more so poking fun at her fans that defend her no matter what, which is exactly what ended up happening. Her fans went and attacked this dude's channel.
Fulfilling prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
Man was preaching and it came true.
And so, that dude also lost a sponsor because her fans took to Twitter to tweet at that company, or I don't know. I guess it's just what came out of that whole cycle was that now it feels that bigger YouTubers could almost weaponize their audience, to I don't know, affect or even just negatively take out someone's livelihood or whatever.
I feel like that has always quote unquote been a thing. You know, the whole like fan doxing thing, where people who are a fan of this one thing, anybody like quote unquote attacks, when in reality, like any sort of criticism directed towards that thing they like, they'll immediately go after. You know, they'll fucking go for blood.
Yeah, I guess the main new point is that people hadn't gone after sponsors specifically before. So and like in today's era. Like YouTube landscape where AdSense isn't always reliable, you know, a lot of people depend on sponsors on big videos, and losing a major sponsor could actually, like, especially for commentary channels, I guess that's the specific thing. Like, the sponsors make them most of their money, so it could be like attacking someone's livelihood directly. Well, I agree though that it was always going on in different ways, and I don't know. I feel like doxing someone is probably worse than losing a sponsor, but way that's worse. Debatable. Like, yeah, because I guess just it wasn't as easy.
Personal.
Yeah, but like it was harder, I feel, for a fan, like to have one diehard fan who's like a hacker or something go out and dox someone you don't like, you know, versus like now you can just take a whole mass of people that don't even need to get the full context or have too much technical knowledge or anything. Like, they just tweet and then you take someone down, you know?
Yeah, essentially. It
feels like, it just feels a lot easier to attack someone in that way now.
Intentionally or not. I just feel like, you know, there's definitely going to be this argument that I'd imagine that Pokemon and these people will be like, no, but we didn't tell anybody to do it, but you also didn't discourage anybody, quote unquote, because I saw both of the videos and I saw no inclination of these people trying to discourage people from doing it. Because, like, I mean, when after a certain point, it kind of does become your responsibility. When you recognize that you have this much influence, it's up to you to educate your fan base and discourage your fan base from doing this kind of shit. You know, and there's always going to be the few bad apples in your fan bases that are going to do shit regardless. But at the very least, you're not, you know, not that you're not promoting it, but at the same time, you're also actively discouraging it. And I believe that's something that should be at the forefront of these big influencers and these content creators' minds. You know, the realization that they hold, whether they like it or not, whether intentional or not, this much influence in causing harm to people indirectly.
Yeah, people don't like the term that much, influencer, but it's become that for a reason, you know, because you literally have influence, you know, over so many people.
Their presence influences people to do this kind of shit. What else are you gonna call it? You know?
Yeah. No, I just personally don't like I guess a certain type of influencer, you know, like the word is whatever, but I feel like a lot of people that call themselves that maybe sometimes are pretentious, I guess. Oh, yeah. Like, maybe they're not as big as they think, not just in numbers wise, but like, yeah, I don't know. I guess they can take it to think that they have already so much influence and they'll spread some message that's completely like, I don't know, not necessary or just sometimes a bad take, you know?
Oh God! And
but regardless of all that, you know,
a lot of bad takes in the past week. I'll tell you.
Oh my God! Yeah. Before we transition to that, though, like I just wanted to say, I'm not trying to defend or anything, but like I think at least in the Pokey video, she says specifically, we're not trying to attack anyone. But then right afterwards, she says like, we're just giving criticism, or I forgot the exact words, but it's literally like the most, I don't know, like you said, they're not condemning or whatever the word, I don't remember.
It's like saying like, you shouldn't, but, you know. Yeah.
But just know that this person is completely wrong, and if you don't, you're not a true Pokey squatter.
Essentially.
And I think one thing that worries me also about it is more so that I think it's kind of like, for commentary channels, they've been on the rise on YouTube for a while, and now they're maybe like the biggest form, like the biggest genre, you know, on YouTube. And I feel that it kind of, it almost feels like a small death of comedy on YouTube, because you can't criticize someone, even if it's in parody form, without getting some type of backlash from them, you know? Like, I don't know. A lot of the channels I watch, they poke fun at people, but it never feels like they're attacking them or going after the person themselves. It's more so,
But
I
some
mean,
people
unless
do
your
take it
actions
that
are
way.
bad. Exactly. Like sometimes, yeah, people do bad stuff, and sometimes it's in the past, most of the time. And they even talk about how, that's before, and they hope that this person can learn and grow from it, but then they'll take it as a personal attack to them right now in the moment. And it's like, I don't know. I guess it feels that you can't even parody sometimes now.
One of the more famous examples of that at least I remember was, I don't know if you've ever heard of like something that happened a while back ago with like in the animation community where an animator that I actually like, Senor Pello, made like this parody video of Storytime animators. Those animators that do just like what you would
Yeah, I've
say
seen a
very
lot of
bare
those, like,
bones animation, and they just tell a story over it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he just did like a video like poking fun and joking about it, right? And the big controversy was happened that Aaron Ego Raptor from Game Grumps, Aaron Hansen, came to like the defense of Storytime animators, and kind of like in criticism against Senor Pello's video, where he was claiming that it was in bad taste, and that he was just being mean, and this doesn't help or contribute to anything. It just makes people feel bad. And some people were kind of like calling him out because of things that he's done in the past that were pretty much in the same vein. And, basically his justification was just like, yeah, that was in the past, and I've grown past that kind of comedy because I don't think it's right. But people's stance was that, like, okay, you claim that you've grown past it,
but you're still making the same type of video.
but it's kind of just like, at the end of the day, you shouldn't be condemning people from a position where you feel like you really do have like the righteous upper hand to say like, no, what you're doing is wrong, when you've clearly been in that position before. And you, as a person being in that position, should recognize when things really are out of hand, and when something is just kind of like harmless, like joking. Because if you watch the video of Senor Pello, it's just his, dumb opinion, and he's making a joke out of it. Never once does he say that that Storytime animators are like, quote unquote, a lesser degree of animators or lazy or anything. He just makes a joke video, a parody video. But in that instance, I get where Aaron was coming from in that situation, and I agreed with him to certain points. But I do definitely feel like he was blowing this into a proportion that wasn't exactly reflective of the actual nature of Senor Pello's video. And I feel like he really was just kind of like, quote unquote, virtue signaling, where he really just wants to seem like that guy who's at the defense of these people, and this thing is mean, when in reality it isn't. And
like, without context, I feel like it's not going to negatively affect all of those individual Storytime animators. It's more like a criticism on the genre as a whole.
And even then, it was in like parody.
Even then, it's like a parody, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. It's not going to tear down the whole community, but I feel like when you bring attention to it like that, then it actually does affect it even more than if people had just like, let it pass as a parody and just ignored it, not made a huge issue out of it.
I always wondered why he felt it was necessary to treat, Senor Pello and all this stuff, like if he's doing something with clear malicious intent, And, I like the Game Grumps, and I like Aaron, and I like their content. This isn't me trying to say like, oh, Aaron's a virtue signaling hypocritical asshole. Not really, because everybody makes mistakes and all that stuff, and sometimes people do have to realize, oh, maybe I didn't really approach this in the proper way, which is fine. We all do, and it all happens. But I definitely think that's a good example of when sometimes people don't know how to distinguish when something is done in harmless, with harmless intentions, just to play a joke and all that stuff. versus when something is actually intentionally malicious. And even then, let's say that, yeah, the thing was in jest, but you still felt like it was a little bit hurtful and, might have offended you a little bit. I feel like there's still a way to bring that up without vilifying the other person, without treating him like if he's some kind of monster who was only out there to get you and hurt your feelings, right? I feel like there is
it's a perfect example of haters gonna hate, and you can take that to heart and I guess do something about it, or you can just let the haters hate. Put on your goggles, your shades.
Yeah, at the end of the day, a lot of people came to his defense. A lot of people came to Senor's Pello defense. There was a lot of division. But at the end of the day, where I light in the spectrum is just like, hey, clearly he didn't do this with any malicious intent. If there's still an argument to be had that his video could have offended someone, I feel like that could be brought up in a lot more civil and less vilifying manner, where you could discuss these things, as people and as both creators, and see if there could be some kind of compromise, if there even has to be,
Well, I don't know, man. I get what you're saying, but we're on the internet, and that shit's not going to go down that easy.
I don't even mean it between, like, the people in the internet. I literally mean it between, like, the parties involved, I feel
everything could be discussed even in private. Like, you can add each other, message through DMs or whatever. But I think because of just the culture that we live in, like outrage and cancel culture and all that, and Twitter being so powerful in its own way, like, I feel like things are not going to be settled once they get into the public eye. You just can't settle it privately, like, decently anymore, because then you're going to have all these people asking, like, what happened,
Oh, and boy, is that annoying. When, like, content creators clearly had something happen between them that they want to keep private, and then all the fans do for the next fucking year is try and theorize and pick at the exposed nerves to figure out what happened, like if it's any of their business. God, I hate that.
Could even man, that's literally what happened with the Game Grumps back in the day.
With the whole John controversy and
they came out with a video where they didn't need to say everything. They just said that they split ways in a non-harmful way, and even in the future they did like collabs together. I think Ego Raptor showed up on John's video, right?
I don't remember for sure, but all I know,
that was like way later. But the point is, like, people still tried to dig at it and try to figure out what happened, even if they had already released their statement on it. Like, obviously it was vague and people want to know more. They like transparency, but I feel like not everything has to be. You're
not entitled to know everything
shared.
Of someone's life, regardless of whether they're a big influencer on the internet. Nothing forces them to have to expose every single thing about them. And, like, sure, you could say that, well, I mean, nothing's stopping me from theorizing and all that stuff, but I feel like some people really feel entitled to the fact that they need to know everything of what happened, when that's not the case. Some people just need to realize, oh, okay, well, something happened between them, and it was between them, and that's as far as it goes. Move on. Just like they moved on, we should too. But just like you said, it's the internet, and some people just really use the anonymous factor of the internet to just do some shit that's just completely illogical and irrational. And I feel like Twitter is such a dude. Honestly, if I had to say, if there's one piece of social media where I could just press one button and completely erase from existence, it would be Twitter.
You wish there was the nuke button was actually just for Twitter?
Yeah, but I also
because that's also how our president feels now.
I guess, but Mr. President, Mr. Orange he puts himself in that fucking position.
No, exactly. Like, the man clearly loves Twitter, but I don't know if you saw recently he said, like,
stuff.
He wants to censor Twitter now or something.
Yeah, where he wants to make I want to make fact checking illegal.
Yeah, like, what? I don't know.
Crooked Twitter is trying to fact check me and make me seem like the bad guy, even though I've done a bunch of bad things. But I don't
like,
want
the people will do that regardless.
Yeah,
a little button that says it or a little link is not going to change the fact that every single reply is going to be fact checking you regardless.
Exactly. I mean, look at what fucking Anonymous is doing now, outing his ass. Oh boy. Anonymous.
Oh yeah.
Is back.
No, think you were telling me about that. Was it yesterday or the other day? And I actually looked a little bit more into it because I didn't know that they were like coming back like that. But damn.
Oh yeah, Mr. President's in trouble. But it's just like, I don't know. I feel like the nature of the beast with Twitter is such a fucking cancerous thing, dude. Like, cancer culture in of itself is such a...
Hold up, cancel or cancer?
Cancerous cancel culture. Because, dude, it's just like...
I feel like in this one case, those terms could be not interchangeable, but yeah, they're closer than before.
It's just because...
I mean, I'm down to cancel cancer too, though, you know?
Me too.
That'd be great.
Me too. I mean, that would be the dream. But, I don't know. I feel like Twitter really is this landscape of just like, let's destroy people. And I don't like it. That's why I've never been super active on Twitter. I'm mostly like an Instagram guy and all that stuff. Because I feel like Twitter is just like an exposed nerve of you touch it the wrong way. And like, you're just going to get attacked by anything, everyone. It
is. It really feels like more than ever before. I've always loved Twitter. I told you about this too, like how it's my favorite platform, but recently I've like been way more careful. Just like it feels like you have to tread carefully more than ever on Twitter, because for a long time, you know, when it first started, I liked it because you could literally, it was a tweet, you know, you just blurt out whatever thought you're having and no one really cared. There wasn't this outrage over statements, which can be a bad, but also like it just felt like a normal social media platform, you know?
Yeah.
Just people giving out their thoughts. And I guess because, I mean, obviously I'm not saying it's just because of the president, but it feels like ever since he became a big thing on the platform and like it all blew up, like the whole platform itself blew up to like such a crazier level where people can get, you know, millions of likes on a single post, whether it's a good or bad take. And it's
back
like,
in the day, it was easier to start your tweets with, I'm not racist, but...
Oh, man.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, it definitely feels different. Like, I really liked it at first, like I said, because it just felt like an easy way to update people on what I'm doing, what's going on. Then eventually it evolved into, I'm just going to post memes because I don't think people care that much about what I'm doing. And I can post that stuff on Instagram. And then now it's just evolved to, I don't even want to post memes, dude, because it's like people will take it the wrong way, but no matter what.
Will dig deep enough to find a problem with it, I feel.
Yep.
But it's just
or like in the future, like you could post like a meme that's fine right now. Maybe 3 years down the line, that meme isn't cool anymore. And they'll be like, oh, well, you tweeted this back in 2012. And it's like, that was 2012.
My friend, are a bigot.
Oh, my God. I don't know, man.
What did I do? Why am I a bigot? You tweeted a Doge meme.
I mean, maybe Doge could have been a freaking...
In 2024, Doge will be racist. Mark my words.
Exactly, dude. Just like Pepe the Frog was like anti-Semitic or whatever.
Who would have thought that Pepe the Frog would become a fucking white supremacist symbol?
Yeah, that's
on
just...
4chan.
Bro, I still can't I still use Pepe the Frog in Twitch because that we know it in a completely different context. And then there's also things like the OK sign apparently was like a anti or like a white supremacist thing. Have you heard about that too?
Yeah. It's been for a while. But it's like, the OK sign and with your 3 fingers up. Like,
dude, that's just the emoji. Like
Not anymore.
Yep.
Not anymore. 4chan made it racist. Much like a lot of things that 4chan does.
Yeah.
Here comes 4chan about to make something racist. That's essentially the fucking nature of the beast, man. And it's not to say that there are definitely some things that should be reprimanded and, punished. But even then, sometimes not everything has to be a fucking, a rally towards war. I feel like cancel culture is like a thing where someone could have made a mistake or said something, very ill-advised back in their past, and even long before it came to light on Twitter, they have made statements about it and apologize about it, similar to what happened with James Gunn, where he said some really fucked up jokes in the past. And
yeah, that's exactly who I think of every time.
Yeah, before they were even discovered by Twitter, he had already addressed them and already apologized about them. And even still, years down the line, when people rediscovered them, which it was like it came to light that it was actually like the right that like brought it up so they could get him canceled by the left, quote unquote. They still tried to cancel him. And I could not believe that. It's like people expect people to be born knowing already what everything are the right and wrong things to say or to do. It's like Twitter does not have this capability, or this space or this benefit of the doubt to kind of realize that people have the capability to grow and recognize their past mistakes.
Exactly. I was about to say it's like a lot of people can't believe that someone could actually like admit their mistakes and change and grow from it. It's almost like people don't change, but like I can see both sides, because sometimes you can say people don't change, but people definitely can. And when you see people that really try to change and be better, like it's almost like they won't accept it. It's just like, no, you did this before, that's you now forever.
Dude, it's like one joke I made like in Doom when we were playing Doom, that I'm sure when I was a kid only starting out in the internet, I probably said some dumb shit or something that would probably get me in trouble in this day and age as a kid. A kid who's on the internet where it's like the Wild West of the internet.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure almost everyone around our age and even before, like we've all said some dumb shit, because the internet was not the same as it is now. Like this type of thing didn't exist. And it's the same thing I was saying about Twitter when it first started. Like, people said a lot of dumb and a lot of racist shit. And obviously, it, like, I don't know, bro. It's just, it was a different time. It doesn't excuse saying that type of stuff. But if you said some shit back then and now you don't think that way and you've, like, changed and accept that you were wrong.
Clear signs of that change, and the fact that you no longer support those kinds of statements or that kind of behavior, why are you to still be held accountable? Yep. Right? It's not like you committed fucking murder.
And I feel like this actually, it ties everything together, like the whole James Gunn thing, and then also what we were talking about before with like YouTubers' perception and parody. Like Joji is another example that I didn't know that people were trying to cancel him too.
Well, the K-pop stands were trying to cancel him.
Yeah, and we know you don't mess with the K-pop stands, dude. Actually, even mentioning them right now, if we say it 3 times in this video, I'm pretty sure they show up at your door with a Jimin stand-up cardboard. But this is something I think I told you as well, or maybe I've told some other people, that I knew one day. Like, already I knew that Joji was growing way beyond his Filthy Frank days, and that I'm sure most of his fans don't even know about that he used to be Filthy Frank, that was his origin. Like, most of his fans now, the newer generation, or even just people that are older but didn't know about that side of him, right?
Yeah.
And even though it was mostly just the K-pop stands, and, they're kind of like their own league of outrage, it still felt so weird to see that, because I was like, I knew that it would happen one day, I knew that people would take that Filthy Frank, all of that footage, and it's all archived, obviously. It's still on the internet. And they would take it serious when, like, the whole character was, what's the word?
Satire.
Like, yeah, exactly. It was satire. It was an exaggeration of the worst parts.
Filthy Frank was who you shouldn't be.
Exactly. It's the worst thing of that type of behavior that is meant to be an example of what not to do, literally.
Exactly. And I feel like everybody fucking understood that. And then when I started seeing that the K-pop stands were trying to cancel him, nobody else was taking him seriously, because it's so obvious. He himself in his video has explained it, that Filthy Frank is a character where he makes fun of and makes a satirical, impersonation of the worst kind of person on the internet. Joji and Filthy Frank were never the same person, and Filthy Frank was never reflective on the belief and the views of George.
Mm-hmm. And it's just
like
weird, yeah, because you don't know where the line is drawn. Like, it feels that even sometimes watching or laughing at those things is seen as wrong, when I don't think it should be. Like, in the realm of comedy and satire, to an extent, you know, everything should be allowed in the right context. I don't know. Exactly. I feel like sometimes people judge even just for you watching something, or I don't know. You're not even condoning that type of behavior necessarily. It's just something like Sunny in Philadelphia. You know, I know not everyone's gonna like that type of show, that type of humor, but it's like someone that watches that and enjoys it shouldn't be lower than anyone else, I guess.
Because the people who watch it and enjoy it understand. They watch it and enjoy it because they understand that the context of the show is representing these horrible people. You know,
like it's not something that you're ever going to do yourself. The fact that that a character on a screen is doing it is funny in itself, and it doesn't mean that's you. Like,
context is that it's not glorifying these characters. At the end of the day, these characters don't get shit for what they do. In the other words, that they don't get celebrated, or they don't get to get away with what they do. At the end of the day, they will always be these shitty people stuck in their shitty situation because they can't stop being shitty. And that's the part that's funny about it.
Yeah.
They're constantly trying to get out of their state, their shitty state, but because they're such shitty people and they don't do anything to change the fact that they're shitty, they will continue to be in their shitty state. And we're just going along watching their adventure of exactly how shitty can these people be. And that's the funny part about it. That's
in other words, stop fucking watching hentai and then you'll grow as a person.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, I mean, it's part of us, man. At this point, we can't stop. We've gone too deep. But that's exactly what I constantly explain is my brand of comedy. I like imitating and doing these voices of these characters, these really absurd and horrible characters, because I feel like characterizing them exactly as that shows how ridiculous these kinds of beliefs and these kinds of people are. You know, that's why I constantly like make these, I guess what you would say, quote unquote, like sexist jokes, but I always play a sexist character because I find it funny that people are even, I find it not even funny, ridiculous that people could even be like this. So I imitate them because that's kind of like my way of showing how ridiculous this kind of person is.
No, I agree, man. I just feel sometimes that maybe that type of stuff is trying to get silence and trying to get buried down, and it would be really sad to see it just disappear, because obviously a lot of other people also enjoy it, and it's like a certain type of comedy that
subjective.
Not everyone's gonna get. Yeah, exactly. But to like remove it completely, it almost feels to me like suppressing the mind itself, just like letting people not think a certain way. I don't know, bro. It's difficult to think about, but yeah.
Because it's just like the same argument could be made with real issues in the world where people want to silence certain things, kind of like how there are some guidelines on YouTube where if you talk about a certain thing, you'll get demonetized. Just because it's a controversial thing, when all I think that does is beget a future where this stuff can occur again, because since no one was allowed to talk about it and analyze it, there's no way for us to avoid it happening again. It happens a lot with like racism and, you know, other occurrences in the past where people are just like, oh, why do you have to constantly bring it up and talk about it? Because we have to acknowledge that it happened. Because if we don't acknowledge that it's happened and it was a problem, and it's a problem that can happen again, if we don't put it at the forefront of our history, then it will happen again.
And it is happening again.
And it is happening again.
Oh my God. And no, that's a really good way to put it, because there's things that need to be discussed and need to be brought up, and it's not always easy to, or yeah, exactly. And you know, everyone deals with things different ways. So I feel like almost, I keep forgetting the word, satire is a way to like discuss these things that's like maybe just easier to handle for some people, like at least to bring it forth. And then afterwards it can create a discussion on it that, like you said, sometimes just isn't discussed at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like...
Even like the corona for a while was, you weren't allowed to talk about it on YouTube. And it's like, how can people know what's going on? How can we like educate or like, learn about it if no one's talking about it or we're not allowed to? And I mean, I guess we talk about it like really like it's something terrible
Corona
here, but it's way worse in other places too. Like I don't know the exact details, but I know in China, like people were legit getting killed for just speaking up about corona.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, obviously that ties into what we were going to go into now, which is obviously, you know, because people are speaking out now about everything that's been going on, there's legit people dying now too, like in these protests and everything.
Someone died today. Another person got killed today. I'm going to see if I could find the name of the person, but he was like an owner of a barbecue restaurant, and he was like, I think he was just in his car.
Wow.
Riding past. I'm going to see if I find it, but, you know, it's really just showing how indiscriminate this is starting to become. Or it always has been.
Mm-hmm.
It's just now it's really coming into the limelight, and now that people are sick of it, you know, now it's hard for people to ignore, you know. And I just want to state this. I know a lot of people come to our podcast for a lot of funny haha things, but I'm definitely going to say this podcast might not be as funny haha, because it's kind of hard to ignore how bad the situation is. And I feel like there's really no way, and I feel like it would be disrespectful trying to even find a way to make light of the situation that is happening right now. Some people have to recognize that sometimes things, there's no room for levity in some situations. And this is definitely a situation where if things don't start to be handled appropriately and things aren't spoken about in the way that they need to be spoken about and addressed with the seriousness, I feel like it's only just going to cause like a lot more harm at the end of the day. It's the same thing how you were saying.
I totally agree, man. I don't know. I couldn't, like, even in my Pokemon video, you know, I never talk about any current events or like news or drama or political things, you know, but I feel at this point it's something that is so like it's, you can't not talk about it because it's so, well, first of all, important just to say something, it like how, like whether how you feel, I guess, but not saying anything would like definitely add to the problem itself. Like obviously there's people out there right now that are doing the right thing and doing the protest the right way, and there's also going to be those not doing it the right way, and it feels that, I guess it's, you know, like you said, there's
the focus is in the wrong place.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's just like, okay, let me just put this quick example, and sorry for interrupting, but it's like, it's kind of like how people, you know, on the other side of the spectrum are justifying like, oh, just because there's a few bad apples within the police doesn't mean all the police are bad. But they're the same people who, as soon as there's a bad apple within the protests, they're quick to label all the protesters as bad apples. En fin, hipocresía.
Yeah, exactly. You know? I'm like, it's really hard because I don't usually talk about stuff like that, but like I know how I feel inside in my thoughts, but it's really hard to like express it. It's exactly like what you said, that I still stand with the message and the protest that's going on, but just because like a couple of people or like whatever are doing it the wrong way, now we're all all the people trying to send this message are getting punished.
Invalidated.
Is not the right word, but you know, like we're seeing we're getting, literally the cops are going after everyone. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
But even then, you know, there is an argument to be held that the cops started going after everyone before the
even
protests,
before, yeah.
Even, yeah. You know, and I found the name of the person I was talking about, David McAtee, an unarmed black man and business owner, shot and killed by the cops National Guard last night at a gas station at 26 Broadway in Louisville at his own home. And
Jesus.
it happened. Yep. And then at 26 and Broadway, that because of protests and they're starting to claim confusion at the scene. He was quote unquote killed. He was an owner of a barbecue restaurant. Completely just peaceful. I don't even think he was part of the protests, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part that just like hits harder, even more.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say, dude. It's like there's a lot of specific instances we could talk about, but I've seen like full on riot gear, like tanks and SWAT team basically looking military policemen just gunning down people for standing on their balcony. And it's like, what are these people doing? They're not even protesting. They're on their own private property.
And people going home, you know, on their way home back from like the curfew, you know, trying to get home. There's a little video I saw the other day of a line of cars trying to get home from curfew. The police walk past a car full of these white chicks, you know, happy as can be, and they stop specifically at the car with the black folks in it and tear them out of their car and throw tear gas into the car and break their windows, while the white girls in front are waving and smiling at the camera.
What the fuck? Okay, I haven't seen this, but like, jeez.
I could link you to it on Twitter later. I literally saw it on Twitter. And it's just like, it's not even a question anymore that the discrimination is there. When you see the news of these cops hiding their badge numbers as they violently tear people to the ground, shoot people with rubber bullets at less than 30 yards, which is not even how you're supposed to use those. You're supposed to fire rubber bullets at the ground and ricochet them to reduce the velocity in order to not cause permanent harm to people. But there are cops shooting directly, not only at protesters, but members of the press and even delegates. I saw a picture I think he was the New York State senator. Mm-hmm. And there's a little picture of him online getting restrained while he has mace all over his face. A senator.
Wow.
And what do you think the senator looks like? He's black.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say he's black, isn't he? Mm-hmm. And yeah, man, the whole thing just makes me sad, but also angry, which I think is the proper response. But
I mean, it is, dude. I mean, what else can you be, right?
Yeah, no, and that's why I like say that even the anger that people might feel when they go and just are trying to break in somewhere or break stuff in general, like, I don't know, I feel that also from the police's side, obviously they're destroying shit too. So it's like, I don't see how that can be an excuse. Like, there's a lot of people that feel that are taking this take that like, why is it worth it to destroy our country for this? You know, like, this shit doesn't matter, dude. The building can be fucking rebuilt. You can't bring a person's life back.
Exactly. And it's like, it's not even like it started completely random and indiscriminately. The first place that was looted was the famous Target, right? And why was the Target looted? Because there was literal evidence of that Target being told by the Minneapolis Police Department to not allow the protesters to purchase water and medical supplies for the people who were tear gassed and shot by rubber bullets.
That's fucked. I didn't know about that.
You are depriving citizens
of their basic needs,
constitutional rights to go into that store and provide aid and assistance to people who are injured, and you expect them not to go in there and get what they need anyway? Like, really? Mm-hmm. You know, it's just, it's a complicated situation. I'm not trying to say that it's just so simple, but at the end of the day, you gotta see why this has all been done. This isn't something that happened from one day to the next. This is 400 years of history of oppression in our country, and the country has done a very good job of downplaying exactly the significance of it and how deep this goes. But now that we have the internet and people are able to properly educate themselves, and finally the racism and the discrimination is being recorded in a way that people can't get away with it in public eye anymore. The only way they're getting away with it is through the judicial system, which is why we're protesting, because they shouldn't be getting away with it.
Yeah.
But now that they can't, and now that people can't ignore it, it's too late for them to try and cover it up. They can't do it anymore. And they're realizing it. And they know that the only way they're going to get away with it is through force.
Yep. And that's, I think part of it too is I think both sides are genuinely fearing right now, because like they wouldn't be going to these extremes if they weren't scared as well, like the government and the police, you know?
Yeah, of losing their position, of losing their control over the people and losing their comfort. That's
and it's like you said, this has been going on forever, and even on the internet, it's been like clear from past times when this like almost the same thing happened, and after a couple of months it just dissipates, you know? Like I feel that this time maybe it almost, I don't want to say that because of outrage and cancel and all that, like people are way more aggressive about, you know, putting out their opinions on it and just voicing and just in general bringing awareness to it all, that it has become this way, you know? And I think it had to, like, this had to happen, or it was going to happen eventually.
Exactly, eventually. It's less of a thing that it has to happen because, you know, God forbid that we have to lose a human life every time we want there to be positive change in the world, because that's not the way things should be. But with the way things were going, it was bound to happen, and it did. And unfortunately, it did.
Well, yeah, but like the loss of life, especially for discrimination, is still happening. That's why, like, not that specific death had to happen, but like it has still been going on and continues to go on, and that's exactly why everything is happening right now. Like,
people are tired of it. We've been tired of it, but now it has to stop. People have finally gotten to a point where it has to stop.
It's the boiling point.
It does, and everything does, dude. It's reflected so much in our history. The civil rights movement, Stonewall, going as far back as the Boston Tea Party, where when people reach a boiling point, this is the only way to get things done, because the people don't realize. They'll constantly try and say, like, no, there's always a better way to do things, but people don't realize that some people in power are just corrupt. Some people refuse to believe that there could be bad people, just completely unreasonable bad people in power, just like there are in everyday life. It almost like some people put, you know, government officials and all that stuff in a higher pedestal where it's impossible for these people to just be petty, selfish, discriminatory. It's not. At the end of the day, they're still people. And all people still have agenda. And it's become clear by the way that they have treated the masses, and they treated the people of color and the minorities and all what they would consider quote unquote lesser people, that these aren't the kind of people who listen to peaceful protest.
Exactly. And I think that's like the part of it too. Like, you could say that it could be done a different way, but peaceful protests have happened. And even I think honestly, even if it had remained peaceful and hadn't broken out into like riots, I guess, I think that still the police would have gotten on the offensive, because they just won't stand for it.
Because they have in the past.
Yeah.
This isn't the first time. That's the part that I feel like people really are glossing over. The reason we're not
history repeats
peacefully
itself.
Protesting. Yeah. And the reason we're not peacefully protesting is because it has not worked in the past. And it's for the same reason, I believe I was talking to you about it last night, that it's because people are so used to peaceful protests that it's easy for them to ignore. And that's exactly why they're upset that we're not peacefully protesting anymore because they can't ignore it anymore. And it makes them uncomfortable. But they don't realize that change isn't always going to be something comfortable. The winds of change, the one constant in this cosmic coincidence or whatever you want to believe that is the universe, is change. The winds of change always come. And
if anything, it's the opposite. Yeah, it's never easy to go through change.
Exactly. The winds of change will always blow, and the more you fight against it, the more uncomfortable and the more difficult it's going to be for you. That's just the way it is. That's just the way life has always worked. Change will almost never be comfortable. And that's the problem with most people in our country, dude. They're so used to things having to go smoothly and be comfortable, and they cannot be bothered to the most minute degree. And it's shown by the protest that happens initially with COVID. How many people were walking outside? And so, I mean, hard to ignore white people in full-on bulletproof vests and riot gear and AR-15s. And there's pictures of them yelling and getting into the faces of police officers, and it never escalated like this. But as soon as people are protesting against a cause that is against black people and people of color, and not just black people, but all people of color and all minorities, as soon as it's about a topic that inconveniences them and outs them as, you know, the people that are doing the wrong, they get violent.
Yep.
And they call us thugs. And our
well,
own,
someone specifically called us thugs.
Our own commander-in-chief says as soon as the looting starts, the shooting starts. Encouraging people to kill each other.
It's fucked, man. It's really fucked. Something that highlighted it for me was the fact that there was never a curfew set, at least here in Chicago, I think in LA too. Like, they were encouraging it, but they never actually sent out, like in Puerto Rico, I know you guys get like the notification, right? Mm-hmm. When there's a curfew for Corona. Yeah. That never happened here, but now it happened because of the riots and the protests.
Exactly. It never happened with COVID, but do you know exactly why that is, right? All that is an excuse because they realize that these protests don't die down and disperse easily. Mm-hmm. The protesters can't just say, all right, we're done for today, and that very minute they're back in their houses. No, this is a massive mass of people all trying to get home at once. That's a lengthy process. And they did that because they know it's a lengthy process. And they know that they're going to be able to catch people outside of curfew, innocent people outside of curfew, and get away with doing whatever the hell they want to them.
That's fucked up because it also the type of people that are showing up that did show up to the COVID protest, like you said, versus now, I don't know. It's mostly like younger, obviously a lot of like just mixed race, but just younger, defenseless sometimes people versus guys with fucking ARs and bulletproof vests. Like, dude, I don't know, man.
How can you be so blind, so ignorant to still try and argue against it? You're literally outing yourself. You're literally outing yourself as someone who's at the very least blatantly ignorant, if not just completely racist. If you're going at the defense of these people who are arguing about getting their haircuts versus people who are protesting against the obvious murder of an innocent man. They're not showing up with guns, they're not showing up with weapons. But because they're not, quote unquote, your people, and their protest inconveniences you, they're thugs, they're going about it the wrong way, they're causing problems, they're, right, like, come on.
Yeah, like, there's just no excuses, dude, the voices will be heard, and the more you try to suppress it, the worse it will get. The more, the louder that we will get, basically.
And people try to believe like if those aren't the exact essential values in which America was quote unquote founded upon. These
And
motherfuckers
that's what it
started a
comes down
war
to at
against
the end, dude.
English to
There's
be
like
heard.
there's a lot of people that just won't take the time to even like look up the most basic of facts. Like we're not asking you to know all of American history or anything. Like, but there's just, I've heard another take that I don't really get, and maybe in the past I've been a culprit of that too, you know, is that you don't know, you're not educated, you don't know enough about it to speak about it, you know. But it doesn't take that much, like, to just read and understand what's going on. And
understand the
I don't know,
history
man.
that led up to you being even in the position that you are in, whether it's beneficial or detrimental. You got to try to at least understand the history that led you to being in the position that you are. That's the importance of history. Knowing where you came from, knowing what other people and what your forefathers had to sacrifice so you could be in your current level either of comfort or discomfort. You know?
Yeah, it comes down to a thing of privilege, which is basically what you just described. Like your comfort level in society, I guess.
And I think it's just like, listen, man, no one likes to be painted as quote unquote the bad guy or the one who's got it all good or whatever. You know, I mean, I won't deny the fact that it feels bad when someone's coming to tell you just like, hey, you have this inherent benefit and like by you ignoring all this problem, you're in the wrong. You know, no one likes to feel like they're in the wrong. But I feel like people are ignoring the blatant fact that not everyone is in the right all the time. And sometimes you could be in the wrong without even realizing it. And it's up to you as an individual to go like, all right, hold on. Let me try and understand why these people feel this way and try to educate myself and see what I can do. Sorry about that. What I can do in order to better this situation for everybody. Because, you know, and I feel like some people don't even bother to think that. They just see that someone's accusing them of something and they go like, hey, no, fuck you. You know, and that's as far as it goes for them. And I feel like that's the whole situation with white privilege where, you know, obviously there's the white people who, for some goddamn reason beyond me, want to feel like they're oppressed. For some reason, which I don't even understand. I don't understand anybody who actually wants to be oppressed. You know, the biggest example
it's a self-hatred
is the
thing. It is kind of weird to get sometimes.
Yeah, the most recent thing was the whole Karen situation where these white ladies were trying to say that Karen is as bad as the N-word. But
the fuck?
I digress. But I definitely do. Yeah, okay, Karen. The only thing that I'm trying to get to the point with that is that really sometimes people will not look past themselves.
Yeah, they won't.
Their own situation.
Like, they won't let down their ego to an extent. Like they just won't. They don't want to be wrong.
They don't want to be exactly wrong. They don't want to
look like the bad person in the situation.
Yeah, and not even bad because, like I said, there's some people who just have never been in the situation where they've had to sit down and reflect on that privilege. You know, there are some people who go a long time in life without ever being put in that situation where they have to sit down and go, hold on, let me try and understand this. You know, where you start being bad and being wrong is when you just refuse to even acknowledge or even take the time to reflect on it and realize why these problems are affecting so many people and they aren't affecting you. And what you can do to help the people that it's affecting. You know, how is that privilege? It's not that privilege is inherently a bad thing. I feel like sometimes people take it that way, that privilege is an inherent bad thing. No, it's just something you have based on how the how do you say? I'm losing it. The establishment was built and the status quo was built. You get to have that privilege. And that's great for you. Good that you have it.
That's what I was trying to say earlier. Like the comfort level that you feel at in society or whatever, no matter how you feel, like, yeah, it doesn't have to be a thing that causes you, like, that self-hatred that some people have, where they feel that they're at this level of privilege and so they feel like they can't do or say anything, or I don't know. It's not that though. It's literally just
Some
all
people
about
just have it
educating
easier,
yourself
man.
at that point. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
just
just like,
understanding.
just understand that by virtue of how you were born, in the family you were born in your ethnicity, you have it easier than some people. And that's not people trying to devalue your efforts in life. It's just the way things are. And the best thing you could do to turn that around is use that privilege to help the people who don't. And that itself, you're taking something that people are viewing as inherently negative and putting it into a lot more positive light. And the reason I'm able to say that so confidently is because there are people who are doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Like these celebrities who are donating to the cause and donating to the bail. Look at how much privilege they have because of their status. And they're not going, well, I worked super hard to get to where I am. It's not fair that you point out how much easier things are. No, they're going like, yeah, shit, I do have it pretty easy right now. Let me try and make it a little easier for people who don't.
That was the least I felt I could do as well, because I like just being in Chicago, it's so close to it. Like, it is literally happening outside my door. Like, the convenience store down the street was looted. I could hear the riot going on, or the protesters, like the other night, because it was like 2 blocks away. The police cars are going by all the time. So it just felt like if I'm not going to get out there and be there myself, the least I can do is try to help out the people on the front lines, you know?
And exactly. No one's even forcing you to go out there either, because, hey, there's a lot of risks. You could get tear gas. You could get shot by rubber bullets. And there's still a pandemic going on.
Yeah,
So,
but like I said, it's like it feels like not doing anything just didn't sit right with me.
Exactly. It's not the right way to go, especially if you're like, we were talking about influencers, but especially if you have a platform where there's a lot of people who view your platform. You know, the least you could do is bring it to the attention of those people and do your part that you can do, at least from home, to be in solidarity. That's something that I wanted to bring up too, that I know too many people who have a platform and just sit there and don't even acknowledge it. Whether it's because they don't feel like it would be beneficial to their platform, or they feel that somehow it's better for them to be impartial and not get involved. No. You be ignoring the fact and playing it off like it's not your problem is just enabling the situation.
I felt that way. Like, I can admit, I felt that I didn't know anything about the situation to where it was easier not to speak up. But it really, again, it didn't take that long. It wasn't that difficult to just start reading, start like looking into what people are saying, and form your own opinion, you know, and figure out what's the best to do for you. Like, I looked into what these individual organizations are doing, how they're helping out, you know, and then I just chose whatever felt like the best for me to help out with, you know, which is a little bit to like what was going on in Minneapolis, basically the bigger funds that just help out like black people in, I guess, worse situations. And then there was one that specifically helps out people in Chicago. So like, I don't know, it just felt like that. It didn't take that. It wasn't that hard, you know, to figure it out and just read up about it.
That's the people that don't realize. And hell, you could have your opinion and whatever, but at the end of the day, it doesn't take a lot to just like stop for a second, especially now that we're all in quarantine and shit. It doesn't take a lot to just like read up on what's been going on, going through like the news real quickly, either on Twitter or on Facebook or wherever it is you're on, see what's going on and see what you can do to help. But the fact that some people won't even take that time,
especially right now when there's like most people are not working, you're not doing shit at home, dude. Like, you're just watching it all unfold. And
exactly, dude.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've had to unfollow a lot of people, surprisingly and shockingly and unfortunately, a lot of people on some social media platforms that I've seen completely denouncing the movement, man. Some people I did not even expect.
It's rough. Thankfully, I mean, I guess not thankfully, but I haven't seen it in my following. The only thing I've seen is like there's some people that are just ignoring it, which, you know, you can't tell them what to do. You can't force someone to at
that point, it's just a shame. It's just kind of like, it's a shame that you're not doing anything. But whatever.
But at the same time, I have seen a lot of replies to other creators that are supporting it, and then there's people actually like going against them, and it's just like,
yeah,
bro, I don't.
Calling them ignorant or sheeps, and I'm just like, dude, fuck you.
And like, you know, it's a shame, but like 90% of the time when someone's trying to like bring up one of the points that we've brought up throughout the whole podcast so far, it's 90% of the time it's a white dude, you know?
Oh yeah.
They're destroying my city, or like this isn't necessary. I don't know, dude. It's just a bunch of excuses, I guess.
And on the opposite end of the spectrum, I've actually seen some people attack influencers who are bringing things to light and using the hashtag or whatever and saying you're just virtue signaling. Fuck off. Who cares? Even let's say even if they are virtue signaling, right? And the only way you could ever know is if they admit it, because no one knows anyone's intentions at the end of the day. But even if they are, they're still bringing it to light in their platform that a lot of people, they get a lot of traffic through and they have a lot of followers on, which is still a positive thing to do.
That's what I was saying. Like, it sucks. It's like most people are giving positive feedback no matter what, because they understand. And again, it's a thing of just understanding, just doing a little bit of reading into it, research, whatever you want to call it. And then just, that's it, bro. If you don't agree with it, I don't know. What's the point of tearing it down?
Exactly. And what's the point of tearing people down for bringing in awareness?
For trying to help,
understand this virtue signaling thing. Because even if it is virtue signaling, what does it matter? They're still spreading the message. Like, why? Why do you got to be that much of a prick? Like, we're just like, I'm going to take this fucking positive thing and beat it down. For what reason? If you think it's virtue signaling, whatever. But you don't got to be just like, haha, you're just virtue signaling, so this doesn't mean shit to me. What do you know? What do you know what their intentions are? Leave it alone.
Yeah.
There's much more pressing things, like actual people who are denouncing and going against the movement, but you're going after the guy who you think is just doing it for clout?
It is pretty fucked. There's a lot of bad takes out right now. Like, a lot of bad dude.
Takes, man. Like, last night I was scrolling through Twitter at like 10 o'clock and I'm just like, I'm done with Twitter for tonight, because there was
thankfully they are much, much smaller than the amount of people trying to help, but it still just shows you that those few people that have those takes, they're very adamant about their point as well. And it's like, it's not the right time, you know? Like, it's definitely not. Like, anyone who's trying to help and trying to just raise awareness or whatever, and you're really gonna go after them, I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's like, this isn't the time. Like, read the room. This isn't the time to be fighting and arguing with other people. This is the time to just be standing in solidarity and recognizing the situation and the gravity of the situation, not causing Twitter drama. Oof. Like, that's an easy way to get outed as someone who's completely egocentric and self-absorbed.
I definitely agree, though, man. I think it's a good time also to just take a step back from Twitter and Facebook and just fucking... I mean, it's really hard to resist it at some points, but, man, it's a lot. And it can be really easy to get riled up or get emotional, feel a certain way. That's not always a bad thing either, you know, but I think that sometimes it can just, like, I don't know. It can't be good to be looking at it all the time at the same, like, the videos and all that, you know?
No, there's definitely has to be a time to just, like, step back and calm ourselves and really keep ourselves in a position where we could be rational about these things, but approach it with the, you know, with the exact severity that it deserves. No more, no less. And now is the time for where we got it right now. I think it's just time to really make a change, man.
Exactly. And like, really, who knows where we'll be in another week from now, you know, like right now, at least here, shit is still going strong and they're trying to, you know, lessen it every day, like cutting curfew even shorter. And like, for right now, what's happening, it's like, it is the moment. It is the peak of like, this shit has to have an impact.
Some change has to happen. if you want this to not be another footnote of tragedy in history,
literally just look at history, man. Like, there's plenty of examples, and history repeats itself. Like, it's not always going to be the same situation, but there's plenty of shit to learn from and figure out, you know, what the right thing to do is. And obviously it's not continuing to suppress the people.
No, for sure, man. But I mean, that's about all the thoughts I have on the matter, to be honest, because it's a very...
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at. Like, I feel like it is fine, and obviously we have to be aware of it, not just completely step back. But, like, there's only so much I can take at a time. You know what I mean?
Exactly. But, you know, at the end of the day, again, we apologize if this wasn't exactly the funny little haha podcast episode you were expecting. And for anyone who stuck around and, you know, actually opened their ears to listen to, you know, our opinion on the matter and what we think, we appreciate it a whole bunch, you know. And, you know, just do what you can to stay strong in this situation, help where you can, and hopefully by the next episode things are in a much better place where we could go back to our dick and fart jokes.
Even if not, I mean, that's why I said I don't know what the heck is going to be going on next week, but, like, for sure it doesn't have to be the whole episode. It's just that right now this is, you know, the moment to talk about it and to speak about it, and just appreciate you guys listening as well. You know, we're, at least I'm learning every day as well about these types of things and what we can do. So I don't know if you want to like put it in the description or whatever, but the thing that I put on Twitter just has it's from the Black Lives Matter website themselves. They have like a list of places you can donate or like organize and all that. So
for sure. You send me that link and I'll put it right in the description, man. Help where we all can. But yeah, by next episode, even if this is happening, you know, it's definitely not going to be the whole podcast episode, but this definitely was the one to talk about it, and we appreciate you guys listening. But that'll be the end of this episode, because I am sweaty and I am hungry.
Same.